Hi, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef. In this episode of Cooking and Camping with the Step-by-Step Chef, we're going to get a special look at the lost episode. This is an episode that I shot in Yellowstone National Park, and I lost it. I just found it with everything but this introduction, which obviously was not shot at my campsite. Now, we are going to make a delicious meal in this episode that powered me through a lot of hiking in Yellowstone. It is beef broccoli stir fry, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So come on, let's take a look at the lost episode. So here are the ingredients for our spicy camping stir fry. I have 3/4 of a pound of a round steak, and they already slice this. You can get the whole steak if you want, and sometimes they'll mince it up for you. We're going to use 1 celery stick. I have 2 crowns of broccoli, 1 jalapeno, totally optional. If you don't like it spicy, leave this out completely. You can also just use half of it if you want, if you just want it slightly spicy. I have 2 inches of ginger. That's how they measure it. The ginger's optional. You can also add half a teaspoon of dried ginger if you want. I have 3 garlic cloves that we're going to mince up. And again, you can use like just a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder if you want. We're going to use 1/4 of this sweet red pepper and 1/4 of this sweet onion. And you can use white onion, yellow onion, red onion, you name it. Use your favorite onion. We'll use 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil to saute the steak and the vegetables. We'll use 1 tablespoon of cornstarch to kind of thicken up the sauce a little bit. We'll use 3 tablespoons of soy sauce and 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. We're also going to use probably about 2 teaspoons of sugar, and that's to taste. This takes a little bit of the bite out of the other ingredients. And I have this ready rice. You can also use a minute rice if you want. Just pick a rice that cooks quickly if you're camping. If you're making it at home, it doesn't really matter. So let me show you how to put all this together. And the first thing we'll do is just slice up our veggies. So I'm just going to take this celery stalk, cut it lengthwise, and then kind of dice it. It doesn't have to be too fancy. Don't use huge pieces of celery because you don't want this to be celery beef. This just adds a little extra crunch, a little extra flavor, and a little extra nutrition to the dish. And that's the whole thing. I love sneaking as many vegetables into these dishes as possible for you. This is what keeps us healthy. You gotta eat some veggies. And I see people when they're camping living off of just hamburgers and hot dogs, and I've done that. But you know, a couple of days of that and you don't feel so great. So you really got to kind of shake it up and start putting some veggies in there. And that's the same if you're cooking this at home too. You just got to try to keep it fresh, and the fresher the better. So there's our celery. I'm just putting it into this pot, just putting it aside. This is a really easy dish to make. I know it doesn't look it, because there's several different ingredients, but it's very easy to make. And the other thing is, think whatever vegetables you can get that are fresh wherever you are and incorporate them into this dish. I couldn't get fresh mushrooms. Fresh mushrooms would go very good in this dish. There's just a world of veggies that can be added to this to make it delicious. So you saw I just took the red pepper, I cored it, I removed the seeds, and now I'm just going to give this a mince too. Again, we don't want this to be red pepper and steak. Now, if you're in an area where you cannot get any of these ingredients, just substitute. You can even make it just with broccoli and steak. It can be that simple. You don't have to get this complicated. And what I do is, as I move around the country, I look for farm stands and stuff like that, and I just see what they have that's fresh, and I work it into le menu. And that's the secret to healthy and tasty eating, is try to find the fresh food. And so any of these veggies that you can't find, that's fine. You don't need red pepper in this. I mean, what the heck? You absolutely do not need red pepper. But I happen to find red pepper. I like red pepper, and so I'm putting it in mine. So again, add what you want, eliminate what you don't want, and just make it your way. And now here comes our onion. And the onion I'm just going to hack off a piece, because we're camping, so we can do stuff like hacking off a piece. You know, we don't want to spend all day cooking. We like to hike and kayak and swim, maybe, I don't know, you name it. Maybe just drive around and look at stuff. But the main thing is we want to eat well, but we don't want to spend all day on this. So that's what I'm trying to show you in Cooking and Camping with the Step-by-Step Chef, healthy dishes that can be made fast. So then with the onion, all we're going to do is finely sliver it. This gives it a nice crunch. And onion always adds a delicious flavor to these different dishes. So I try to add it whenever possible. Here's our onion slivered. Just throw that right in that veggie pot. Now all of these vegetables have been rinsed off. Certainly not the onion, but the peppers and the broccoli and all that kind of stuff. Here's our jalapeno. This is what makes it spicy. Again, if you don't like jalapeno, don't add it. It doesn't matter. If you have gloves handy, wear a glove. If you're the kind of person who touches their eyes and nose, wear a glove. You can also use a fork and a knife to do this, just to avoid contact with the pepper itself. So I'm just coring it. Get those seeds out of there. There we go. And then we'll just mince this up. I don't want huge pieces of jalapeno, but just enough. So that's why we're going to mince it. You can dice it if you want it crunchier. There we go. Let me just cut from the end. I can't wait to have this. I have actually been touring and hiking outside of Yellowstone. There's a place called Earthquake Lake. In 1959, it had the biggest earthquake recorded in the Rockies, and the land and the lake actually fell up to 20 feet. It's something to see. It's the kind of stuff I like to do, and there was a lot of hiking involved in seeing it, so I'm hungry. I know I say that in every episode of Cooking and Camping with the Step-by-Step Chef, but I'm going to say it again. I'm hungry. Yeah, well, at least I'm making myself laugh out here in the wilderness. Okay, so there's our jalapeno. Next up, let's do our broccoli. And I'm just going to trim this part off, the stemmy part. And then we're just going to take the florets of broccoli and just cut them to this size. They don't have to be any smaller than that. And I'm going to do that with both of our broccoli crowns. I'm not going to bore you as I do it, so I'll be right back. So you can see all of our broccoli crowns are cut. So we did a good job of chopping those up. And now I'm just taking the ginger and just peeling it. You don't want any of this ginger skin in your dish, certainly. And if I were at home, I would use a grater and finely grate the ginger, but we're camping, and I don't bring every implement that I would normally use because we're camping. So I don't want to have to haul around my entire kitchen out on the road. And also I try to simplify these recipes so we don't need all of that equipment. That's part of the magic. This is why it works for people camping and people at home who just want a quick meal. Maybe they're couch camping and they're like, boy, I want some stir fry and I want it now. So you make it at home. So all we do with the ginger, again, we peeled it off, and I'm just going to really thin slice it. This adds a real complexity to the dish. Do you absolutely have to have this in your stir fry? Absolutely not. You could also use a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger powder. It won't give you the same results exactly, but it will certainly add a flavor. Ginger is one of those things that's a treat. So again, if you don't have access to ginger, that's fine. Still make this dish. I think you'll still get plenty of delicious flavor out of it. But ginger, and this is a lot of ginger, so you can also use, just an inch of ginger, a half inch of ginger. Do it to your taste. This is a lot of ginger, but I'm kind of in the mood, since I'm near Yellowstone, a world of extremes, I'm in the mood for extreme cooking. Now, sometimes in ginger there's a tough core in it too. You don't want to add that to it. But this was really fresh ginger, so I was able to use all of it. Now, the garlic, we're just going to do a little mince job on the garlic. Make sure to peel off the skin. We're getting there. We're almost to the point where we can start cooking. And again, you can greatly simplify this recipe just by doing the basic sauce that we're going to make, and steak and broccoli too. You don't have to make it this complicated, but I was kind of in the mood for something a little bit more flavorful. I've been on the road out here camping, cooking and camping with the StepByStepChef for almost 2 months. So sometimes I treat myself to meals that are a little bit more complicated. And we're just going to do the same thing with the garlic, just thin slice it. And you can mince it if you want. If you have your crusher, you can crush it. But I'm not spending a lot of time on this part of it. And I'll just give it a little mince like that, and we'll do it with the next piece. Nice and thin sliced. Okay. And I also have very simple recipes on cooking and camping with the StepByStepChef, StepByStepChef.com, StepByStepChef.com. So they come in all different sizes depending on the kind of camping or cooking mood you're in, and that's totally up to you. But sometimes, you just want to spend a little extra time on this. Now with the steak, what I want to do, since they already thin sliced it, is we're just going to mince it up, make it a little bit, actually this is diced. We'll call it diced. This is bite-sized pieces of steak. So no matter what kind of steak you get, just cut it into pieces like this. And the smaller we cut all this stuff, the faster it cooks. So that's why I'm not using like huge strips of steak and just chucking whole pieces of broccoli into this. We want to make it so that it cooks fast, because we're camping, or we're at home and we're couch camping, which is completely honorable too. So I'm going to do this with all of the steak, and then I'm going to meet you, as we say over at the stove. So here we are over at the stove. Of course, you read the instructions on how to light your stove, so you can do it safely. There's the hiss, and it's lit. And I'm taking it down to just above medium heat. Here's our pan. This pan preheats very quickly, so I'm just going to add our oil to the pan. And then the first thing I want to do is make sure our steak is cooked all the way through. So we're going to brown the steak first. Oops, there's a piece of garlic skin. I don't think anyone wants that in it. So what I'm going to do is stir the steak around. This is pretty thin steak. It'll take about 5 to 10 minutes for me to brown this. Now, these stoves are hard to calibrate. If it's cooking too slow, turn it up. If it's cooking too fast, turn it down. You'll know the difference. This looks like it's cooking just right. I'll be back in about 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes later, this steak is cooked through, and I'm going to put it aside. I'm just going to put it in another plate. Do not discard that delicious sauce. That's going to be part of our gravy. So do not discard that. Don't dump it. That's part of the flavor. Okay, so the steak is set aside, and now we're just going to add a little bit more oil to the pan, and then we'll just stir fry up our veggies. When we stir fry the veggies, we keep the heat up like it has been. You can raise it if you need to. That jalapeno is hit me. But just kind of stir it around, and we want the veggies so that they're certainly sauteed, but we don't want them completely limp, so they have to have a little punch left in them. So just keep stirring it. That is going to be one strong pepper. People might think I'm dying over here. So I am out in the campground, and I'm sure people are about to get a whiff of this. And this is a campground that bears frequent, so I have to kind of get my bear goggles on. Not my beer goggles, bear goggles. Kind of keep an eye out, make sure that nothing's approaching, no critters that are uninvited guests, especially no critters that would really like some steak as you're cooking. And also have your bear spray handy too, which I do. And I am going to do a video about the importance of keeping a clean campsite when you're in bear country. If there's a bear box to store your stuff, you gotta use it. Never bring food inside your tent. There's a bunch of points. Whoa, this is spicy. So I'm going to do a video on that. And I hope you will check out Cooking and Camping with the Step-by-Step Chef to see what that's all about. Again, I've been on the road for almost 2 months, working my way from Florida all the way up to the Pacific Northwest with a lot of stops in between. And I'm showing you how to cook quickly in a campground and healthy on the way. So I'm going to stir fry these for about 10 minutes, and I'll be back and I'll show you what else to do. Okay, so 10 minutes later, you can see our vegetables are still bright. They are sauteed. We're going to add our steak and that delicious gravy. Stir this all in. It's going to be a great stir fry. And what I'm going to do is add our soy sauce. And you can do this in a separate cup if you want to stir all these ingredients together and get the sauce just the way you like it. This is the first was the soy sauce, and that's the sesame oil. And here comes our dash of sugar. And do this to taste. You might not want sugar, or you might want more sugar. It's totally up to you. And let's stir this all together. Now, if you like it really saucy, you can add like a can of beef broth to this, maybe half a can, 3/4 of a can. You can also add some water to it, just to give it a little bit more of a sauce. That's up to you. I don't mind it a little bit on the dry side. Now, if you go the sauce route, you will need that cornstarch to thicken it out. And I think I'm going to have this dry. But if you do the cornstarch, as we mentioned in the beginning, you can do that beef broth, add a tablespoon of cornstarch, stir it in, do it in a measuring cup, and then you can just keep doing it until you get it just right, and then heat it up with the stir fry, and you'll end up with this nice thick gravy. So this is something I'm going to serve on rice. Is that going to be tasty? So I'm going to stir this for about another 5 minutes, and then we'll be ready. Doesn't that look tasty? Now that is fresh camping cooking. So congratulations, look at what you just made. You just made this delicious beef broccoli stir fry. Spicy beef broccoli stir fry. Now if you like this recipe, please go to StepByStepChef.com. There you will find a printable version of this recipe and over 175 other dishes. The other thing you will find there is YouTube videos on how to prepare each and every one of them. I show you how to make each and every one of those dishes. Now, if that's not enough, the other thing you're going to find is videos with our series called Cooking and Camping with the Step-by-Step Chef that will show you how to camp. I'm showing you step by step how to camp easily, safely, and comfortably. So, my name's Larry Richardson. I am your step-by-step chef. I'm starving and I have a lot of hiking tomorrow. So I'll see you in the next episode. That's a good dish.